Hello, welcome. Let's solve this question that we have here together on the board. A ball is thrown upward with a velocity of 20 meters per second. Calculate A, the time it takes to reach the highest point. B, the maximum height it reaches, taking G to be equals to 10 meters per second square. So let's provide a solution to this question. So first, let me write my solution. And the first thing we want to do is to bring out the data that we have been given from the question. So from the question, we have that the velocity of the ball is 20 meters per second. So that means the initial velocity of the ball is 20 meters. So u, which is the initial velocity, is 20 meters per second. And then from the question again, we have that g, which we have been given, acceleration due to gravity, is 10 meters. So g is 10 meters per second square. Another thing that we have not been given here, but we should be able to know, is the final velocity. Now the final velocity, how do we get it? We have to know what is happening in the question. Now the question says that a ball is thrown upward. So it's a ball that has been carried and thrown upward. So when you throw a ball upward, you know anytime you throw something up, it's going to reach a certain height. Then at that certain height, it will start to fall back to the ground. So by the time I throw it with a certain velocity, the height where it's going to reach before it will start falling down, the highest point that it's going to reach before it will start falling down, that place is the final velocity, and the final velocity at that place is going to be 0 because the object has reached its highest point, and then it will now begin to come down. So the highest place that ball reaches at that point, we see that the final velocity at that location is 0. So that means final velocity at the highest point is going to be 0 because we have been asked to find the time it takes to reach at that highest point. So that means the velocity at that highest point is going to be 0. So now let's find a equation or a formula that we can substitute this variable into and be able to get the time that we are asked to find in the A part. So we have from the first equation of motion, we have that V is equals to U plus AT. This is the first equation of motion which can help us to find the time. But one thing before we start solving for you need to know here is that when we are dealing with a body that is falling vertically or thrown vertically up, if you are dealing with motion of bodies that is either going up or coming down, in our equations of motion, the value of A is going to change and become G, because this time around we are dealing with bodies that are falling under gravity. So A now, acceleration is going to change to G, which is acceleration due to gravity. So this formula becomes V is equals to U plus, instead of A now, it's going to be GT. Okay, so G is going to turn to A is going to turn to GT. So when we are considering bodies that are either falling up, that are falling down, or going up, so the value of A is going to change and become G. So having known this, now we can now substitute our data into this equation. So we have that the final velocity is 0. So that means 0 is equals to U, which is the initial velocity, 20 plus G. Now another important thing you also need to know from here is that when we are dealing with something that is going up, when something is going up, like in this case where we throw the ball upward, the value of G is going to be negative, minus. Why? Because when something is going up, we know that it's going against gravity. You know, gravity is anything that makes something to fall down. If I throw this mark up, it comes down because there's a force of gravity that drags this pen to come to the ground. So because of that, if I throw something up, it is going against gravity because gravity is trying to drag it down while the marker is going up. So G is going to become negative. But if the ball was if it was falling down, then G is going to become plus. So if something is falling down, the value of G is going to be positive. But if something is going up, the value of G is going to be negative. Is that understood? So that means G now is going to be minus 10 then times T, which is the time that we are asked to find. So we have 0 is equals to 20. So now we have minus 10 times t. Minus 10 times t is going to give us minus 10t. The next thing we will do is to make 10t subject formula by bringing it to this other side of the equation. And by the time we carry 10t and bring it to the other side of the equation, it's going to become positive plus, because anytime you carry a number and it crosses the equal to sign, the sign is going to change. If it was plus, it's going to change and become negative, but now that it's negative, it's going to change and become plus. So now here we are going to have 10t is equals to 20. So to make t subject formula, we divide both sides by 10. So 10 will cancel 10, and we have that t is equals to 20 divided by 10. And 20 divided by 10, we know the answer is going to give us 2. And the unit of time is seconds. So that means the time it takes to reach the highest point is 2 seconds. Now we have to also calculate the b part. The b part is that we should find the maximum height it reaches. So now we need to find a formula that can help us to find the maximum height. So we can use the second equation of motion. The second equation of motion is actually given as s is equals to ut plus a half at squared. Now this is the second equation of motion. But remember, I told that when we are considering object that is falling under gravity, the value of a is going to become g. A is going to become g. S also, S is distance, but now because we are dealing with something that is going up or falling down, S is going to become h, that is height, because now we are dealing with height, not distance again. So this equation is going to become h is equals to ut plus a half g t squared. So this is how the second equation is going to become when we are dealing with bodies that is either falling down or going up. So having that, we can now find the maximum height. This is our height, so we can substitute our variables and find it. So that means h is equals to u, our initial velocity we know is 20, and then the time, we have already found the time, which is 2 seconds. So 20 times 2 plus 1 all over 2. G, we already know that g is minus 10, so write minus 10. Then times t squared, that is times 2 squared. So this h is going to be 20 times 2 is 40, plus, now we have 1 over 2 times minus 10, then we have 2 squared. 2 squared is the same thing as 2 times 2, which is 4. So we have that h is equals to 40. Now what we have here is minus 10 times 4. Minus 10 times 4 is going to give us 40. Then 40 divided by 2 is going to give us minus 20, because there's this minus here. So this minus is going to affect this plus, because we have 1 times minus 10 is going to be minus 10. Minus 10 times 4 is minus 40. Then minus 40 divided by these 2, that's why we have this 20. So now we have 40 minus 20. So h is 40 minus 20 is going to give us 20. And we know that the unit of height is meters. So this is our final answer. This is the maximum height that is going to take this ball to reach